Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Apyayantu mamangani Vak pranaschakshushrotramatho balamindriyani cha sarvani Sarvam Brahma Upanishadam Maham Brahma Nirakuryam Mama Brahma Nirakarod Anirakaranamastu Anirakaranam me astu Tadatmani nirate Yaupanishatsu dharmaste mai santu te mai santu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah. Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Ityetadaksharamudgitamupasita Om Itihyudgayate Tasyopavyakhyanam. Om atha Nidam Asmin Brahmapure Daharam Pundarikam Veshma Daharosmin Antarakasha Tasmin yadantaha tadanveshtavyam tadvava vijignyasatavyamite. Thereafter then, Asmin Brahmapure Dharam Pundarikam Veshma. Asmin Brahmapure, in the city of Brahman, which is this body, Yadidam Daharam Pundarikam Veshma. There is this very small Veshma, the dwelling, Pundarikam, of the shape of the lotus, meaning the heart, which is like an inverted lotus bud, is called here the Veshma, the dwelling place of Brahman. So since this body possesses this dwelling place of Brahman, therefore the body itself is called the Brahmapuri or the city of Brahman. In the city of Brahman there is this lotus-like dwelling, like a palace of the king. Dahara asmin antaha akasha. In that lotus-like dwelling, the heart, Dahara asmin antara akasha, there is space which is even smaller than that. Tasmin idantaha. Within that space, what is tadanveshtavyam, that has to be known. Tadva vijignyasaravyamiti, that is to be sought for realization. So that's the passage. So Vashyakara Atha Anantaram Yedam Bhakshimanam Dharam. Dharam means Alpam. Dharam Pundarikam, a small lotus. Pundarika Sadrusham is not actually lotus, but then similar to lotus, hard, being compared to an inverted lotus bud. Veshmaya Veshma, not that it is a dwelling place in primary sense, like a dwelling place. So how come the heart is called a Veshma or a dwelling place? Dwarapaladimatva, just as a palace or a dwelling of a king is possessed of the gatekeepers, etc. So also this heart is possessed of the gatekeepers. Tasya havai tasya rudasya pancha deva sushaya. So earlier it was said in the third chapter how this heart has 5 openings protected by the devatas. So referring to that, Bhashyakara says that the heart has 5 gates or openings protected by the Dwarapala, the gatekeepers. Asmin Brahmapure Brahmana Parasya Puram. So Parasya Brahmana Puram, this body is the city of Param Brahma. Ragnya Aneka Prakritimat Yasa Puram Tatha. Just as, so why is this body called the city? So city of a king, just as the city of a king is possessed of many Prakritim, like officers, ministers. Tad idam aneka indriyamano buddhivi samyarthakari yuktamiti brahmapuram. Similarly, his body also is possessed of like many officers, many ministers of the nature of indriya sense organs, the mind, the intellect. They are like the many officers or many ministers. So what's the similarity between the officers and the sense organs and mind, etc.? Because Swami Arthakaravihi, the officers serve strictly the purpose of the master. And so also this assembly of sense organs, mind, all of that serves the purpose of the self, which is Brahman. In that sense, they can be compared to the Prakriti or the ministers or the officers. Purecha Veshma Ragnya Yatha. Just in the city, the king has a dwelling or a palace. Tadha Tasmin Brahmapure Sharire. Similarly, in this body which is the city of Brahman, the Haram Veshma, there is this small dwelling place, which is what? So why is this called a dwelling place of Brahman? Why is the heart called the dwelling place of Brahman? Brahmana Upalabdhi Adhisthana Mityartha. So lotus of the heart is a place where Brahman can be realized. So just as a palace is where the king is available, so also this lotus is there where Brahman is available or Brahman can be seen, Brahman can be realized. Yatha Vishnu Shalagrama. So Shalagram can be called the dwelling place of Vishnu because that is where Vishnu is realized by, of course, worship and meditation. Then the question was, how do you say this is the dwelling place or this is the city of Brahman? This body is the city of Jivatma, not Brahman. So Bhashyakara said, Asmin hi swavikara shange dehe now ruva vyakaranaya pravishtam sadakyam brahma jivena atma iti uktam. Asmin hi swavikara shange dehe. This body which is the sprout or modification of Brahman itself. So Brahman then is a cause created the element fire, then element water, element earth, from which this body is made. So you can say that this body is essentially the modification of Brahman. In that, its own modification. Nam Rupa Vyakaranaya Pravishtam Sadakhyam Brahman. So the Devata, the deity called the Sat, has entered this body. Nam Rupa Vyakaranaya, for manifestation of names and forms. But then that said, Sat has entered this body. It says Sadakhyam Brahma. Sat stands there only for Brahman. So Brahman has entered this body for as a self, Anena Jiva, as a Jivatma, for manifestation of the names and forms. So not only is this the city of Jivatma, but inasmuch as in the form of Jivatma there is none other than Brahman, therefore it is the city of Brahman. Tasmat asmin hridaya pundarike veshmani. Therefore, since this heart is the dwelling place of Brahman, since the body is the city of Brahman, and heart is the dwelling place of Brahman, where Brahman can be realized, tasmat, therefore, asmin hridaya pundarike veshmani. Therefore, in this dwelling place, which is the lotus of the heart, so how can Brahman be seen? Upasamrita karanaihi, bahya vishay viraktehi, visheshatah brahmacharya satya sadhanabhyam yaktehi, vakshimana gunavat dhyamanaihi, brahma upalabhyate. So Bhashyakara says the purpose of calling this body as a city of Brahman and calling the lotus of the heart as a dwelling place of Brahman, the purpose is Tasmin Hridaya Pundarike. Thus, the lotus of the heart is presented as the place of concentration. Hridaya Pundarike Veshmani. Therefore, the yogis concentrate their attention on this lotus of the heart, the space within the heart, and then what obtains in that space, that's why the yogis focus their mind. Upasamrita karanehi, by those who have withdrawn all their faculties. Bahya vishay viraktehi, how were they able to withdraw their mind and sense organs? Because bahya vishay viraktehi, being dispassionate towards the pleasures coming from external objects, therefore the mind does not dwell anymore. So when the mind is released from its attachments and aversion for the external objects, then it's available for being focused upon its own self. Visheshatah. So not only should the mind be inward looking, it must also be focused, it must enjoy also the ekagra chittata, or the single pointedness for the brahmacharya satya sadhanabhyam. So by the practice of brahmacharya, by the practice of satyam or truthfulness, you gain the antakarana shuddhi as well as antakarana naischalyam. Yuktaihi yogivihi vakshmana gunavat dhyayamanaihi. In the lotus of the heart, those who meditate upon Brahman, possessed of vakshmana gunavat, the attributes which will be stated subsequently, namely Atma, Apahatapatma, Vijaraha, Vimrutyuhu, Satyakama, Satyasankalpa. So these are the various attributes of Brahman that is subsequently described. So those who meditate upon Brahman as possessed of these attributes focus their attention on the lotus of the heart, on the space within the lotus of the heart. Upalabhyate. So the yogis in fact realize Brahman as though obtaining in the lotus of the heart. So therefore this heart is called the dwelling place of Brahman. On the page 348 then, continuing. दहरः अल्पतरः अस्मिन् दहरे वेश्मनि वेश्मनः अल्पत्वात् तदन्तर्वर्तिनः अल्पतरत्वं वेश्मनः अन्तः आकाशः आकाशाख्यं ब्रह्म आकाशो वै नामरूपयोः निर्वहिता इति वक्ष्यते। आकाश इव अशरीरत्वात् सूक्ष्मत्व सर्वगतत्व सामान्याच्च। दहरः अल्पतरः. So dahara means alpa. But Bhashyakara explains the second dahara. What is first dahara small is the Veshma, the lotus of the heart. Second dahara is what? The space within that lotus. Therefore, so dahara asmin antarakasmin antah akasha. Shruti says that within that lotus there is this space which is small. So Bhashyakara says this dahara is alpatara. So smaller than your lotus is the space within lotus. Asmin dahare veshmani. Veshmana alpatva. Since the veshman or the dwelling itself is small, tadantaravartina alpataratvam. Therefore, the what obtains within that dwelling must be smaller than that. So what is within that lotus? Antara antah akasha. Within lotus is akasha, the space. Bhashyakara is akasakhyam brahma. The akasha itself is called Brahman. Upanishad says what is in that akasha has to be meditated upon, So tasmin ajat antah tad anveshtabhyam. What is within that akasha has to be meditated upon, has to be known, has to be realized. But akasha itself is called Brahman here. So akasha, so within that lotus is akasha, akasakhyam brahma, brahma which is called akasha. So how do you say akasha is brahma? So says akasha vai namarupayo nirvahita iti vakshade. This chapter in the 14th section this will be stated that akasha is the accomplisher of names and forms. Meaning there akasha is described as though it is Brahman. Brahman which is the accomplisher of name and form. And that akasha is said to be the accomplisher of name and form. Therefore the word akasha is used in the sense of Brahman. But is Brahman really space? No, akasha iva. Like space. So first says akasakyam brahma. Then says akasha iva, as though space. So by the word akasha you must take Brahman. Then why do they use the word akasha for Brahman? Because Brahman is like akasha. Ashariratvat, sukshmatva, sarvagatatva, samanyacha, because akasha possesses some attributes which can be compared with Brahman. So akasha, the space, seems to be the closest comparison to Brahman. Ashariratvat, because space is bodiless, it is free, devoid of any limbs or any avayava, so it's partless. Sukshmatva, sarvagatatva, samanyacha. Akasha, space is the subtlest of all elements, it is all pervasive. So Brahman also is subtler than subtlest. all pervasive, bodiless. So this similarity is being there between space and Brahman. Therefore, the word Akasha also is used in the sense of Brahman. First of all, Akasha is presented as comparison, Upama for Brahman, or sometimes the word Akasha itself is used to denote Brahman. Look at line 29. Tasmin yadantaha. So tasmin yadantaha tad anveshtavyam. So what is within that space has to be known. So Tikakara says, Yatra tat shabdena prakrutatvat akashameva grahyam. Tasmin what? Tasmin akasha. So tasmin of course is sarvanama and prakrutatvat, because akasha is in the discussion there where the sarvanam tasmin or there refers to akasha. So tasmin idantaha means tasmin akashe idantaha tatasya akasantaravartinah ye anveshtatvam uchyate. So that tasmin anta, what is there within that space has to be investigated, has to be known. So Upanishad says that we have to know that which obtains within the space, within the heart. So within the body there is heart, within the heart there is space, within the space there is whatever obtains, that is Brahman, has to be known. So tatasya Akasantaravartinah yah anveshtavyam uchyate. So Shruti says that anveshtavyam, it has to be known. What obtains within the space has to be known. Akasha shabdisasya atmanastu. But Akasha itself is Brahman. Akasha is Atma. तद्देह आत्मानम अनुविद्येति अनुवाद सामर्थ्यात् अन्वेष्टव्यम सिद्धति. Later on he said, so those who depart from this world, having known the self, they have freedom of movement in all the worlds. Meaning that, so they are the wise people. And so Atmanam Anuvidya, knowing the Atma. So having known the Atma, those who depart from this world. Having known Atma is knowable anyway. So Atma has to be known. Therefore, Atmana anveshtavyatvam. So by that, even though Upanishad may not specifically say you to know the Atma, but having known the Atma, those who depart, means that they have known the Atma. That Atma has to be known. And therefore, Atmana anuvada samarthyat anveshtavyatvam siddhyati. So what is that? Akasakhyam Brahma. That Brahman that is called Akasha also has to be known, and subsequently the Atma also has to be known. Iti ashena Bhashyakara says, Tasmin Akasakhyeti. So Tasmin Akasakhe Yadantaha Madhye Tadanveshtavyam. Tasmin Akasakhe Yat Antaha, that means Madhye. So what is within that space, Tadanveshtavyam, that has to be known. तद्भाव तदेव च विशेषेण जिज्ञासितव्यं गुरुवाश्रय श्रवणादि उपायैः अन्विष्य च साक्षात्करणीयम् इत्यर्थः. So tadvavat vijignyasitavyam. Visheshana jignyasitavyam. So what is it? Jignasa Visheshana Guru Ashraya Shravanadi Upayahi. So by adopting proper means of knowing that Brahman. What is the proper means? Guru Ashraya. So taking refuge into a Guru. Shravanadi, listening to the Guru. So these are the upayas, the means for knowing Brahman, knowing the self. So upaya anveshya, inquiring into Brahman with the help of the teacher and listening to the teacher. Anveshya is sakshat karniyam. So vijignyasadavyam sakshat karniyam. One has to realize Brahman with the help of the Guru. Although this is the context of meditation, not context of Brahma Vidya. But anyway, there also you require Guru, and there also you have to listen to Guru. Anye tvema jananta shrutva nyebhyo upasate. Te vichaditarantyeva mrityum shruti parayanaha. So there also, even for upasana also, instructions are always required from the Guru. In that sense, you require Guru as well as the listening from the Guru. So look at Anandagiri, in line 15, Akash Shabdasya Bhuta Akasha Vishatvam Vyavardayati. So, Tasmin Anta Akasha, that's not Bhuta Akasham, not elemental space, Akasakyam Brahma. So when the Shruti uses the word space within the lotus, it is not this physical space, it is Brahman itself, consciousness. Katham Vakya Sheshe bhi Akash Shabdo Brahmani Vartate. Because Vakya Sheshe in subsequent passage, Upanishad says, Akasho Namai Rupayo Nirvahita. Akash indeed is the accomplisher of name and form. Even there also, Katham Akash Shabdo Brahmani Vartate. So there also, why do they use the word Akash for Brahma? Because Akasha Iva. So Akasha has many similarities to Brahman, therefore, for Akasha Lakshana Vritti, Akasha means Brahman. Tasmin Yadantah Tat Ashrayanas Anveshtavyam. Tasmin Yadantah. So that which is within that Brahman again. So Ashrayanasa. So Akasha being Ashraya, and what is within that Akasha has to be known. So Ashrayanasa Anveshtavyam. So what is within the Akasha has to be investigated or known along with Akasha. Tasmin va sve mahimnirantah. So Tasmin. So what is Tasmin yadantah? So either Tasmin can mean Akasha, it is Samadhikaran, or Tasmin va sve mahimni. If it's not Samadhikaran, Tasmin means sve mahimni, in his own Brahma. Yadantah tad akasakyam brahma tad investavyam. So Brahman which obtains in its own Mahima or glory, that. So if Akasha means Brahman, so look at this. There is a lotus, within there is Akasha. If Akasha is interpreted as Brahman, then what is within? So then what is within Brahman has to be investigated or known. So Anandagiri says, Tasmin va sve mahimni. In that Brahman, so Brahman obtains in his own Mahima. Yadantah tadasha akasakyam Brahma tadanveshtavyam. So Brahman that obtains in his own glory, that has to be known. 2. Tasmin va hruday pundarika vachinena vasi yadantara akasakyam Brahma tadanveshtamiti yojana. Or hruday pundarika avachinena vasi, the space which is circumscribed by the lotus. Yat antara akasakyam Brahma. So Brahman, which is the antara akasha, that has to be investigated. So this other Tikakara clarifies it a little more in the line 32. Yadva, so either it is this, so this tasmin yadantaha, so dahara asmin veshmani, so dahara antarakasha asmin veshmani dahara akasha tasmin yadantaha. So now whether this so asmin akashe and tasmin, whether they are in the same adhikaranam, samadhikaranam or vedhikaranam. Yadva avedhikaran saptamya tasmin hrudaye yad akasham yacha tasmin akashakhye antah tadubhayam anveshtave vidi bhashyartha. Then two things have to be investigated. The space within the lotus and what obtains within that space also has to be investigated. Asmin pakshe tadye atmanu vidyeti anuvadavakya balat tat shabdasya vivida paratvam drashtavyam. If both are to be investigated, then yaya atmanu vidya, so knowing the atma there, tat shabdasya vivida paratvam drashtavyam. Then tat will apply not to immediate asmin, but then tasmin but asmin, you know. Athva samadhikarane eva saptamyau. If asmin and tasmin, see if you look at the passage in the page 344, how many seventh cases are there? Athaye idam asmin brahmapure daharam pundarikam veshma. In this city of Brahman, there is this lotus of the heart, so that saptami is not a problem. Dahara asmin antarakasha. So in that heart, asmin means what? So asmin veshmani dahara akasha. In that dwelling, there is that subtle space. Tasmin. In that space. So asmin and tasmin. If they are same adhikaran, then asmin daharakasha means asmin daharakashakyam brahma, tasmin brahmani. So then, if the same thing is to be investigated, then only one brahman is akasha. But if asmin and tasmin mean saying different things, asmin akashe, tasmin akashe brahma, tad anveshtavyam. That's called vyadhikaranam, meaning that they don't indicate the same saptami, different saptamis. अथवा सामान्यकरणेव सप्तम्यौ तदन्वेष्टमि तत्शब्देन आकाश तदन्तर्गतञ्च वाक्यशब्दात् गृह्यते आकाशे विद्यमानम् आकाशं च. So तस्मिन् आकाशे यदन्तः आकाशः, there is space within the space. सर्वथापि आकाशस्य अन्वेष्टव्य सिद्धिः. Either way, आकाश has to be investigated or known. So ultimately it is Brahman that has to be known, that's all it means. So either you say Akasha is Brahma or what is within Akasha is Brahman. Either way, it is Brahman that has to be known and investigated. So Anveshana Prakaramaha Guru Ashraya Shravanadi etc. Vijignasa Shabdatam Apunaraktamaha. So, anveshtavyam, vijignasitavyam, what's the difference? So, sakshat karaniyam. So, vijignasitavyam means sakshat karaniyam, to show the difference between the two words. Anveshtavyam and vijignasitavyam should not necessarily mean different things. But because two words are used, therefore, Bhashya anveshtavyam means what? That has to be known. Vijignasitavyam, so, one is to be investigated and one means that it has to be known. Sakshatkaropaya samadhi sadhane yatnavata bhavitva darshayidam san pratyaya pritbhava iti bhava. So vijignasa, jnana plus san pratyaya becomes jignasa. Sakshatkaropaya samadhi sadhane yat navata bhavitavyam. Meaning that while meditating upon Brahman, which is within the lotus of the space within the lotus, that meditation also requires accompaniment of certain values and lifestyles such as Shama, Dama, etc. So one must be also dedicated to cultivating and abiding in Samadhi Shatka Sampatti, along with the meditation that is carried out, until the Sakshatkara or until the realization takes place. So one should meditate whatever is required for the meditation, namely Samadhi Shatka Sampatti, that also one should be pursuing. That's the idea. So san pratyaya prayoga. So avagati paryantam jnanam, that's what it said. So knowledge until the knowledge takes place. And therefore the shravanam or whatever sadhanam you adopted, that in this case the sadhanam will be of course a meditation, should be done until the realization takes place. In case of knowledge, the shravanadi must be pursued until the knowledge takes place. So that completes the first passage. Now, going to the second passage. Says Anandagiri, Daharosmin ityadi vakyasya yathashramartham grihitva chodyam uthapayati. So within the body is a small lotus, within a lotus is a small space, and within that space what is there is to be known. So, looks like there is nothing there. What is there in the space? Nothing. So, yatha shrutam artham grihitva. Simply, literally interpreting what akasha as space, as vacuum. Chodyam utthavayati. So, Shruti herself wants to clarify the meaning of these words. And therefore, a question is raised and answered. So through the question and answer, Shruti seeks to clarify the meaning of these words. So first is taking the literal meaning of the word akasha as a space. Then a question arises, what can there be in the space? So that's how chodyam, tam ched. So next passage says, tam ched bruyuhu yadidam अस्मिन् ब्रह्मपुरे दहरं पुण्डरीकं वेश्म दहरोऽस्मिन् अन्तराकाशः किं तदत्र विद्यते यदन्वेष्टव्यं यद्वाव विजिज्ञासितव्यमिति स ब्रूयात् तं चेत् ब्रूयुः. So first the teacher made this statement of the first passage. To the teacher, if they say tam ched bryu to that teacher, in case these people ask him, who the disciples? Yadim asmin brahmapure dharam pundarikam veshma, repeating the word of the teacher, that there is a small lotus within the city of the Brahma body. Dahara asmin antarakasha, and there is a space which is subtler than that within that lotus. And tasmin yadantaha tadanveshtavyam. So kim tatra vidyate, then tasmin yadantaha tadanve, and within that space what is there has to be known. So kim tatra vidyate tadanveshtavyam. What obtains in that space which is to be known? I mean, nothing obtains. We don't see anything in that space. What is to be known there? Yadvava vijignasatavyam. When nothing exists there, what is to be known? What is to be realized? Iti chet bruyuhu. If this is how the disciples ask, sab bruyat, then this is how the teacher should reply. That's what Narendra Puri also said that. दहर शब्द से यथाश्रुतार्थ उपादानेन अल्पत्व भ्रमादि विज्ञेयत्वम अल्पत्व भ्रमादि विज्ञेयत्व आशंका अपाकरणाय श्रुति आह। स्वल्पत्व भ्रमादि in fact, alpatva brahmat avijñayatva asanka, that's how it should be. So, yatha shrutartha upadan alpatva brahmat, because one would think that what obtains there is extremely small, insignificant. So, avijñan, therefore, how can it be known? So, that is the asanka which is to be removed by this question answer. So, Bhashyakara says, तम चेत् एव मुक्तवन्तम् आचार्यम् यदि ब्रूयुः अन्तेवासिनश्चोदयेयुः कथं यदिदम् अस्मिन् ब्रह्मपुरे परिच्छिन्ने अन्तः दहरं पुण्डरीकं वेश्म ततोपि अन्तः अल्पतर एव आकाशः पुण्डरीक एव वेश्मनि तावत् किं स्यात् किं ततः अल्पतरेखे यद्भवेत् इत्याहुः। Tam means what? Evam uktavantam acharyam. Acharya said this. Yadim asmin, atha yadam asmin brahmapure daharam veshma, the pundarik, daharam pundarikam veshma. So when Acharya said this, so idam uktavantam acharyam yadi bruhu antevasinaha. So disciples, those who are antevasinaha, those who live close to him, near with him, Chodayeyuhu. Then the teacher has to answer. If any Tom, Dick and Harry asks, then perhaps he may not bother to answer. But here, his close disciples are asking him. So if they question the Acharya, Katham, how would they question? Idam asmin brahmapure parichinne antaha daharam pundarikam veshma. This body itself is small. Brahmapure parichinne. The body itself, the body of Brahman the city of Brahman, which is body itself, is very small. Then, tasmin antaha daharam pundarikam veshma. In the body which is small, there is this lotus of the heart, which is even small. Tatobi antaha, and within that lotus also, alpatareva akasha. Lotus is small than the space that obtains within the lotus also is smaller. So pundarike eva veshmani tavat kim syat. In that veshman of the dwelling which is of the shape of the lotus, what can there be? Meaning there cannot be anything. Kim tataha alpatare khe yad bhavet iti. So even that, the came in space which is even smaller than the lotus, what can there be? So tadeva chodyam akanksha dvara vivranoti anviri said katham ityadi. So katham chodayehu, if they ask him, question him, katham, how would they question him? Bhavadu parichinne sharire pundarika akarasya hridayasya alpatvam. Okay. So the disciples said that Brahmapure parichinne, the body itself is very small, and within that body is even yet smaller lotus, within that even yet smaller space. So we may ask, Bhavadu parichinne sharire pundarika akarasya hridayasya alpatvam. All right. The heart that obtains within the body may be small. The body is small and the heart that operates also is small. The Dantarvartinasya Akashasya Tatopi Alpataratvam. And then space within that small lotus is even further smaller than that. Tathavi Prakriti Kim Sat. Suppose that is so. So what's the problem? The teacher may say, yes, the body is small, the lotus is small, and the space within lotus even is smaller. Suppose, so what? So Pundarike Veshmani Tavat Kim Syat. In that small dwelling like lotus, what can there be? Kim Shabdasya Prashna Vishayatvam Vyava. It's not asking question. He's questioning, he's denying in fact. So, then that comes later, okay. Now going to the other tika, Yadyapi Pundarikasya Antarakasasya cha Daharatvam Tulyataya Shrutam. So, Shruti uses the word Daharam for both Pundarika as well as Akasha. Tathavi Pundarikaantargatatven Akashasya Daharatvam Arthat Tato Nyunatvena Parivasyati. But then, naturally the space which is within a lotus must be smaller. So therefore, Tatopi Alpatareva Akasha. So Akasha is even smaller than that. Kim Tatra Vidyate Tavat Kim Syadadi Kakvaso Chidam Kaimuka Nyayamaha. So what can be there in that space? Iti Kakvaso. Kaku means what? Denial in this particular case. Say it in different words. What can obtain there? What can obtain there, So it depends upon how you say things. What can obtain there? It can be a question. What can obtain there? In fact, denying. How can there be anything there? So there is Kaku here. So Kaimbutikanya. Pundarike eva Veshmani tavat kim syat. What can there be there in that small lotus of the heart? Kim tato alpatare khe yad bhave. And then what can there be? If there cannot be anything within the lotus which is so small, how can there be anything which is space which is even smaller than that? So the page 349, Tikakara says, Yad bhaved yanantaram tat kim sadyahu iti anusangena anvayaha. So yad bhaved tat kim syat, what can be in that space? What can there be there? Uktamartham Shrutya Aruna. Shruti also says that. Not only we say that what is there in that lotus is small, even Shruti also says that. So Bhashyakara continues, page 349. Dahara asmin antarakasha kim tadatra vidyate. So the antarakasha, the space within that lotus is even small. Kim tadatra vidyate. Even in lotus itself nothing can exist. What can exist in the space which is smaller than that within the lotus? It is not a question. So therefore, Anandagiri said, Kim Shabdasya Prashna Vishayatvam Vyavardayati. So Bhashyakara says, what obtains there is not a question. Then answer is given. Na kinchana vidyate ityabhiprayaha. So what the disciples mean is, na kinchana vidyate. We don't think anything exists there. What is to be investigated if nothing can exist there? So kakva suvi viparyama na kinchit vidyate. Viparya means what? Opposite meaning. You say something and mean something quite different. You say something and mean opposite also, or different. So kakva suvi viparyama. So what exists there? Nothing exists in fact. That's what is meant. So na kinchana vidyate vipraya. So the disciples mean to say that we don't think anything exists there in that space within the lotus. So then the Tikagara says Kim tadatra vidyate iti anenaiva tatra vastu bhavasya uktatvat. So Kim tatra vidyate iti so Kim tadatra vidyate iti anenaiva tatra vastu bhavasya uktatvat. Tata eva tatra anveshtava bhavasya abhi siddhatvat. When there is nothing there, then what is to be investigated? Yad anveshtavidi dvitiya kakva tatra anveshtavya abhavaktu punurvaktayati. And therefore, so then what is to be investigated or what is to be known? If nothing exists there, then what is to be known? Then why do you have to ask? So what exists there? Number one. Meaning nothing exists there. Then what is to be investigated? So if nothing exists, then why do you say what is to be investigated? Because if nothing exists, nothing needs to be investigated, nothing is available for investigation. So why that punarukti? Tatra vastu sadbhava angikarena tad anveshtavyam prayojana bhavat dvitiya kakvan nisiddhyate. That even if something is there, what can it be which can be investigated? First of all, nothing can exist in that space, in the lotus. In case something exists, then also what is the big deal about it? That what is to be investigated? So that's how the two questions are there. What can exist within the lotus of the space? Nothing can exist. In case something exists, what is there to be investigated in that? Nothing. So these two questions are there. So Bhashyakara says, so Hridaya Pundarikaantarvartima Akasavapeti Adyam Dushayati. Okay, what is Adyam? So Hridaya Pundarikaantarvartima Akasavapeti Adyam Dushayati Yadi Namayati. Alright? So, accepting an Akasa space which is within the lotus of the heart, that itself is questioned here now. Yadina. So, first of all, what can exist within that space? In case something exists, then says Yadinama. Yadinama Badarmatram Kim Vidyate Kim Tasya Anveshena Vijignasanena Va Phalam Vijignasatu Syat. Yadinama. So first question was, what can exist in that space? Yadinama, in case you say something exists, Badar matram kya vidyate, suppose there is a small berry fruit or a plum. Badar means small, plum is a big one. Badar means small, suppose small little berry exists there, some fruit-like thing exists, or some small entity of the size of a berry fruit exists, suppose. Kim tasya, then what? So that small insignificant kim tasya anveshena vijignasanena phalam Vijignasituhu syad. Suppose a small thing, entity does exist in the space in that heart. Then you investigate into that, you inquire into that, you know, what purpose will you accomplish in knowing that small, insignificant things? Meaning taking the literally that this is all size. Body is small, within that the lotus of the heart is small, the space is small. We don't think any exists in the space. In case something exists in the space, it is so small and insignificant that what is there to be accomplished by inquiring into it and knowing it and realizing it? That's the question. So ataha यत् तत्र अन्वेष्टव्यं विजिज्ञासितव्यं वा न तेन प्रयोजनम् इति उक्तवतः स आचार्यो ब्रूयात् इति श्रुतेर्वचनम्. अतः therefore, so फलानुपलम्बः अतः शब्दः अतः, since no purpose will be served by knowing that. First of all, we do not think that anything can exist in that small space within the lotus of the heart. In case something does exist, it would be a small little entity, insignificant. Therefore, even if something exists, what purpose will it serve by knowing that insignificant entity? We don't think any purpose will be served. Therefore, yat tatra anveshtavyam, so whatever it is that is to be investigated there, vijignasavyam, realize that, natena prayojanam, no purpose can be served. This is what the disciples say. Iti uktavatah. So, to those who have said this, sa acharya bruyat. Uktavatah, you know which case is it? Dvitiya bahuvachanam. So, uktavatah, sa acharya bruyat, that acharya should say. Now, who says that? Sab bruyat. Who says that? It is neither the teacher nor the students, then it is shrutehe vachanam. So says tatra iti antarvarti akashoktehi. Yat tatra anveshtavyam, meaning within that space what is to be investigated. Shishya acharya vitaregasyatra aprastutatvat kasedam niyogavacharam. So sabruyat, the teacher should answer. That's a niyoga. That is an order. That's an injunction. He should answer. He should say this. Who is saying this? Shishya has already said something. Acharya has not yet started saying something. So whose words are this? Sabruyat. Sidam niyogvacharam iti shrutehe vacharam. So Bhashyakara says, Shruti says this. That this is what the teacher should say. All right, we'll continue tomorrow. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Shanti Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Sutra Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.